What up, guys and girls? It is Bobby
And Sean.
back for another episode of the Cronus Cast. This week's episode is brought to you guys by Paragon Recovery. We actually had a question this past week on our Q&A about supplements and people asking us what supplements that we recommend. We have the top 5, and then we have our additional extra supplements, and my additional extra supplements come from Paragon Recovery. Their night gains is very good, helps me sleep very well at night, and then their flame off has been great for me, helping to reduce some of that inflammation and help my body recover with the extra mileage I've been running. But it's been great. Highly recommend checking them out. Use code Cronus for 15% off, and if they're military or first responder, hit them up directly for an additional discount.
Bobby, speaking of inflammation and fire, that hair right now, you got the top bun long
I
enough
have
for
to
that?
do it. For those that can't see, my hair is in like a weird top knot type thing. But I just took a shower, so like after you shower and you wash your hair is like really kind of fine and like falls everywhere,
If you use shampoo.
Yeah, right. But
I only do that like once a week.
Yeah,
because I've got naturally fine hair as it is. So I try to use some of the grease so I can give it a nice quaff.
Yeah, I started actually reducing the amount of shampoo I do, but still, it's just like after like 2 days of not washing my hair is super greasy, and then I just feel gross. But yeah, this is just to get my hair out of my eyes, because like right now I can't like brush it over out of my eyes, and now it's just I gotta keep it in my eyes. It drives me nuts.
Well, dude, this week was a huge week for you for mileage. Break down like some of your running that you knocked out, because I know today you just ran an 8-miler.
So this week I did 45 miles this week. Pretty good week. But like I'm building up each week now. So last week was like 40, this week's 45. I think next week it goes up to like 48 or something like that. I do like a 3 weeks of building and then 1 week of like a cutback week. That's like a recovery week, kind of.
Cutback.
Huh?
Cutback.
Yeah, cutback week.
I thought we could remix that in somewhere.
Yeah, it's been like getting warmer too. So I made a mistake yesterday on my 12-miler, and I didn't bring any water, which was a very rookie mistake. Because I even thought to myself, I was like, it's a little bit warmer than usual. I should probably bring water. But I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't need water. I did 19 miles the week before, and I didn't need water. So why would I need water for 12 miles? That was a mistake.
Dummy.
I like had to run into a Rite Aid pharmacy. And like in the middle of my run, it's like I gotta get water. So I ran into this Rite Aid. I didn't bring my phone, didn't have any money on me, so I literally just had nothing. So I just ran in this Rite Aid, didn't have a mask on. So I ran in, like covered my mouth, like my shirt, and the guy was like bitching at me. He's like, "Wear your mask. Where's your mask?" I was like, "I'm sorry, I just gotta get some water. Like I'm dying. I need some water." Like ran to the bag, grabbed the water fountain, drank some water, and just ran out. And the guy's like, "Come, bring your bags. Wear a mask now, so come in here." I'm like, "I know, I'm sorry. And I just fucking ran. And then
Jesus.
I stopped like a couple miles, like 4 miles later, at like a Dunkin' Donuts. Luckily, I saw some the lady that was working there was like handing off some drinks to someone that pulled through the drive-thru. So I was like, "Hey, can I have a cup of water?" And she was like, "All right, come around to the drive-thru." So I ran through the drive-thru, and they gave me a cup of water, which was really nice. But I was like, that was a mistake.
Bobby, damn it, man. I had the same thing happen when I was training up for Ranger School. For those of you that don't know, I grew up in Northern Virginia, so Fort Belvoir was incredibly close. And when my sister and I would go work out there, because she was a Division I athlete, we'd hit up their gyms. They've got some fantastic gyms. But on the way back, I'd be like, we'd get outside the gate, be like, "All right, Heather, just drop me off on the side of the road here. I'm going to run home." And I think I planned to run, I think it was like 9 to 13 miles that day. And it was hot. It was the middle of the day. It was the absolute wrong time to do this after a workout. And I'm running down Beulah to try to get to the Parkway to head home. And luckily I brought like $5 of cash on me, just like for emergencies. And from that day forth, I never ran without just like a little bit of cash on me, just in the event, one, like you need water, you have some emergency, you got to get in a cab just to get you somewhere. You want to borrow someone's phone, like cash speaks. So dude, if you're running any longer than like 7-8 miles, like always bring an ID and some cash. Better yet, get the road ID. I don't have the road ID, so I'm saying that like, do as I say, not as I do. The road ID is a great thing because you can work around your ankle, your wrist. It gives all your contact information in the event someone finds you dead on the side of the road.
Yeah, usually I run with my phone. Usually I run with my phone with me. But I don't know why yesterday I was just like, you know what? Go on straight minimal today. See what happens. Like in my phone case, like I always carry, there's like a $20 bill. I always carry a $20 bill in my phone case just in case. So I always have cash in my phone. And then, yeah, I don't know why yesterday I was just very kind of a little too cocky and a little too confident in my running ability. And then that was a really tough run yesterday. I was like,
so you heard that there first. If you live in the Philly area, you see a jack dude with tattoos and a top bun and some great facial hair, you know he's carrying at least $20 on him. So stop him, beat the shit out of him, and you know maybe he'll learn his lesson.
Jack my phone, yeah.
Don't jack his phone though. I need him to be attached to his phone so we can do our daily business briefs. But I take his money. I'll recommend that.
I mean, like honestly, like because around here it's like suburban, so it's like there's plenty of like it's not like I'm running in like the trails or the wilderness, So it's like if I really needed something, I'm sure I could like walk up to any house, knock on the door, be like, I'm so sorry, but I'm running like 13 miles and I need some food or I need some water or something, Yeah.
So I feel like afraid of the Jersey Devil getting you up in the Pine Barrens.
Oh yeah, I actually thought about that, like on my longer runs, like running to the Pine Barrens, because I'm about like 5-6 miles from the Pine Barrens. So I was like, if I really want like a long run, I'd probably run out to the Pine Barrens, run through the Pine Barrens, and then come back. But I was like, that's kind of sketchy too, running to the Pine Barrens.
For those of you that don't know, Pine Barrens is like the sticks of New Jersey. There's like a lot of history that goes back to colonial America where people kind of moved into the Pine Barrens. They were called Pineys. You don't ever see their homes because if you're whatever roads you're on, whether you're going to the shore or outside the city, it's essentially just like you see one chute that goes down like some gladed road, and then you don't see where it turns, and then it's just gone, and it just goes on for miles. So it's like really sketchy. I'm sure there's some great people that live back there, probably no one that listens to this podcast, so fuck them. And like they probably still use muskets to go hunting and are afraid of legitimately the Jersey Devil. That's where the hockey team gets its name from, the Jersey Devils.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's actually an episode of The Sopranos where Christopher and Paulie take a body down to the Pine Barrens and try to get rid of a body in the Pine Barrens. Hilarious episode. It's probably one of the best episodes in The Sopranos.
Is that where don't they like run into somebody and they end up killing that dude too because like their trunk gets popped open?
So it starts off with them like going to pick up a collection from this Russian dude, and then they get in an argument and they think they kill him, and then they pack his body up to dispose of the body in the Pine Barrens. Oh, spoilers for anyone that cares, but
then he runs away.
Yeah,
that's a great episode.
And they shoot him in the head, and he still gets up and keeps running. And turns out this Russian dude was like Spetsnaz in Russia before it like fought in Ukraine and then came to America. So it's like some special operator. And he's like, You think this is cold? I live for the cold. Dude, great episode. It's so funny.
Great episode, man.
But that's that was slide that direction.
Dude, I went running in Central Park. I'm only 2 blocks away, and it's fantastic. It's 10K all the way around on the like road trail thing that they've got. But it gets like exceedingly more crowded throughout the day with tourists or people just getting out because they're going stir crazy. It's really weird because you'll see people running with like face masks on and biking with face masks, and it's like I could never do that. Like if I'm going all out on some sort of a PT event, like I don't want to be muffled and not be able to breathe. But these people, and then someone this morning, I was walking the dogs, and this person who was, I think, more at risk of dying from COVID or diabetes or some heart-related, disability, made some snarky comment about how like some 28-year-old died from COVID, in reference to me and Alyssa not having face masks on in the, early waking mornings walking dogs completely separate from everyone else. It's just like, sometimes I love New York, and then other times, I just want to throw someone into a lake to see if they float.
Yeah, it's just like I've noticed the same thing too around Jersey. Actually, Jersey opened up their state parks yesterday. So like this morning, usually my route, I run through like a local state park on some of the trails just to get some change of scenery a little bit. But they're fucking everybody and their mothers is on the trails this morning, and it's like nobody's doing like the right thing of like social distancing. But like I'm like I can't. Jersey's gonna shut back down like next week, guaranteed.
Yeah, it's just bad. If you open up the economy, regardless, you're going to have a spike in cases. I think we're up to like 65,000 deaths right now and over 1 million diagnosed cases. They're trying to get the testing kits out. Congress isn't even coming back because both parties like, hey, the requirements and what our congressional physician said just does not give us enough faith that we'll have adequate testing to resume sessions. So I don't know. So I read somewhere that it's going to take potentially 2 years to find a cure, and that this is going to be around significantly longer than just the end of the summer months. At which point it's like, well, what is the new normal? At some point, people are going to really truly have enough. I mean, you saw it up in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Those armed guys storming I think it was the Michigan State Capitol.
Yeah.
One, can we talk about that? I'm sure there are some prior military folk out there that are part of this, and I'll call them a rabble, because they look stupid as fuck. Like, they're wearing pistol magazines where their rifle magazines should go. If anyone's ever done any kind of magazine change, you typically have your magazines ordered in some way where it's familiar for you. Like I'm a left-handed shooter, and I always had mine upside down and then facing the left, so I could just literally take it and turn my wrists and I was up in it. And these guys have their magazines faced different ways. Same with, some of them are wearing pistols on the same side as their shooting hand, but yet if they drop their weapon, they're not going to be able to draw their pistol because the weapon will swing. The sling is way too long and it will go completely across their body. So it's like, listen, if we're going to play these games and you guys want to show off the Second Amendment and wear all this body armor, I've seen airsoft people that have more common sense and they're carrying fake bullets. Like, let's do a little bit of homework before we put on this like paramilitary 3%ers bullshit, because it's like truly embarrassing, especially then if like you're gonna like show any kind of patch that you once served, because you're just associating with idiots.
And like
wear your kit correctly. Oh yeah, half of them super fat and like screaming. And that's the other thing. Like, we've talked so many times about some of the problems with America and the disparate impact on minority communities. Could you seriously imagine if you weren't a white male storming the Capitol in military regalia and shouting at lawmakers and getting in their faces? Like, I don't think that would be tolerated 50 years ago, wouldn't be tolerated 20 years ago, and I don't think it would certainly have been tolerated last week. I think, again, taking a step back, there's a very clear like white male privilege when it comes to like arming yourself and walking into someone's legislative capital. Like that just blows my mind that that's something that we completely overlook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like difficult. Yeah, like I get the whole white male privilege too, and I get the right, like the want or the desire to voice your opinions in the protest, but I don't know. It's not exactly the right or the correct method of response or protest, put that way.
No, and you're gonna walk in there and be like this big, bad, tough-looking person with like an awful mohawk, wearing like a bandana up over your face. Like, these are the kind of people that are arguing for the economy to reopen because COVID-19 doesn't directly impact them, yet they're taking precautions by covering their face to prevent getting COVID-19. Either keep your face open, or if you're so embarrassed that you have to cover your face, like, you shouldn't probably be there in the first place. Like, if you can't truly go to a protest, like, this is why I don't like Antifa people. like Antifa covers themselves from head to toe in like all black, covers their faces, and they go out there and they're like trying to be like this anti-fascist movement. It's like, well, nothing says coward more than covering your face.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one's going to respect that message at all that you're putting out because I can't physically see you. Like I'm sorry, I'm just not going to respect anything you had to say because you're cowering behind some image that you want me to have of you. It's like, no, that's not the way it goes.
Yeah, I also really like the idea of, well, not like, but I find comical the idea of the three percenters.
Oh my God,
And
that
like,
Vice documentary.
yeah, it's just like, in what world or country would this ragtag bunch of like not even like like not even able to like, like, there's no way that if like a militia, like a ragtag militia armed with like some M4s and AK-47s are going to go against like any state or, the National Guard or the Army. Like
No,
you're fooling yourself. There's no way the people are ever going to be able to overthrow the government at this point.
and they're just not organized. The Vice documentary, which is several years old now, so again, that's my reference for what Bobby and I are talking about. But even in that, they talk how there is an internal dynamic to the three percenters that is at odds between like each group in each state.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't even get on the same playing field together with like a common goal. There's a kind of tangent. There's a really good show on FX right now called Mrs. America with like Kate Blanchett, Rose Byrne, where it talks about the women's liberation movement in the 70s. And one of the issues that they talk about there was, okay, before homosexuality was protected through, using like the 14th Amendment and some of the other Supreme Court cases from the 90s and early 2000s, like the women's liberation movement was really just strictly focused on women's rights.
Mm-hmm.
But then you had a growing population saying, well, hey, what about women of color? What about gay women? Like, are we going to bring this all into the conversation? It's what we talked about, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago with the Black Lives Matter movement. It's like, instead of just being focused on a single goal, you have a lot of these, factions that want to break off and want to bring light that the main group is getting to smaller issues, although they're very important. It's like, well, that's why the group just won't ever in the long run truly have success or longevity. And it's the same thing with the three percenters. Like whoever that idiot was that was running the PT for them and running their physical training and, their vehicle interdiction, he apparently is disliked by the other three percenters. And so it's like, it's this really petty, almost fraternity sorority like experience that you get depending on what state you join the 3% militia. Like it just blows my mind that this is like a thing that people truly invest their time and money in. I mean, like lots of money for these weapons. And this is what you do on your weekends. Go join the National Guard if you truly have that of a feeling of service and protection, or better yet, go do something, get a law degree and focus on constitutional law so your rights are protected in the future.
Yeah, that was actually met, so I think there were three percenters. One of my ex-girlfriend's mom was like dating this guy, and then his kids I think were in three percenters. They showed me this video of them like one weekend. They do like this like yearly like challenge or some shit where they literally, the challenge included like chugging like a 2 liter of Mountain Dew and then shooting something and then like running around in the woods and then like,
so fucking redneck.
Yeah, this is in Virginia too, by the way.
Of course it is.
But I was like,
Southern Virginia, not Nova.
No, not nah. I guess it was Southern, yeah, because Richmond's South, yeah. But it was like they showed me this video. It was insane. I was like, and they were like kind of pumped too. They were like, "This is so cool!" Like we're like in the military. They had like an it was like they chug like a 2 liter like Coca like Mountain Dew and like runs like an obstacle course and like they shoot pistols and like shoot M4s at like 25-meter targets.
Everyone's a CQB expert. Like that's great. I guess urban warfare would be the big thing in the United States given the population densities. But at some point you're going to have to go to a KD range, and it's not sexy training at a KD range because there's so much for your trigger squeeze, your breathing, gauging the wind, and you've got to deal with all these variables. You can't just make a sexy video of that for your TikTok.
They're weird guys, really weird. I mean, they're nice, but they're just like weird. You could tell that they were like, kind of sheltered growing up, and they probably just like identified with this group that gave them like a voice or like some kind of like welcome them into the group. Some kind of
Do
like
you think it's do you think it's like an incel community?
I think it's not. I wouldn't. Yeah, I think so. Where it's like have people that they feel downtrodden, and then they join this group that they think gives them a voice because there's
Yeah.
some.
Oh, speaking of voices and freedoms, like we talked about last week, where I think we can have some curtailing of freedoms and liberties, and like one of them on like freedom of speech for me, if you're gonna espouse any like Nazi propaganda. Here's another one: the Confederate flag.
Mm.
Nothing pissed me off more, including like overweight soldiers who decided to eat ice cream during PT hours, than seeing a vehicle on post with a Confederate flag.
So
I can think of nothing more disrespectful to the uniform that you're wearing and to the individuals that are serving to your left and right that aren't white and definitely aren't from the South than having any kind of like stars and bars anywhere on post.
So then a corollary to that comment. So how do you feel about posts or buildings or statues, commemorating like Confederate generals? Because we have like
Take every
Grant.
single one of them down.
Really?
Well, like any Confederate general, take it down. That all of these like memorials that were constructed, the majority were constructed during the Jim Crow era, because as civil liberties for African Americans started to increase, those in the South wanted to be able to memorialize the great white culture that they used to have. And then it became like a heritage thing with the sons and daughters of the Confederacy and this whole rebellious attitude. It's like, no, one, you guys just got pissed because you got your asses handed to you as soon as the North got its shit together and decided to come down and march to the sea with Sherman. Like, you guys had a lot of really great military leaders because we had a very federal society back then where people had a much higher allegiance to their state than the nation because it was so young. And there's bound to be these incidents in almost every single quasi-democracy around the world. But for the United States to have any kind of Confederate memorabilia up, it's just disgusting. We are paying tribute to a historical event in our country, and people can say that it wasn't about slavery all they want. Like 100%, this comes down to state rights, the state right to have slaves. There it is. Like that, you can put as many layers over it as you want. So as diverse as this country is, and as many problems and obstacles that this country has placed in the way of minority communities to get to where we even are today, that anyway reflect that old nostalgia, it's just heartbreaking. That is not what America is about. Like, that stuff should be stricken from the record books. We talk about the Confederacy, we talk about the idiots that oppose civil rights, and then we move on. And you're like, don't ever do that again. Just like I'm sure what they do with the Nazis in Germany. Like when I grew up there, it was, you talked about it like, yeah, it was really bad, these were awful people, Hitler's a bad guy. But nobody around Germany, other than like the crazy 88s, are like, oh, you know what we need here right now? So many Germans did this. Why don't, yeah, you know what? This school should be called the Adolf Hitler Hochschule. I went to Robert E. Lee High School. I went to the high school named after the lead Confederate general. Can you imagine going to that school? Or conversely, can you imagine being a Jewish person going to Adolf Hitler High School in Germany? Like, if that sets off bells in your head, so should Robert E. Lee High School. Like, the fact that that name hasn't changed yet it blows my mind.
Just by devil's advocate. So what about the whole argument that the Civil War was based on states' rights and the right for states to
Yeah, I mean, so even after the Civil War was complete, we had a ratification period where we tried to introduce amendments and bills which would guarantee minority communities in this country some representation, specifically African Americans and those that were just freed. And the problem with those amendments were it was specifically interpreted to only relate to states stripping individual rights. So the reason why we didn't have a great jump after the Civil War was because if you are a private business, you would just say, hey, the 14th Amendment doesn't apply to me. Like, this ratification period that we went through doesn't apply to me because I can still be discriminatory and prejudiced. And for that reason, like, we've had a really slow turnaround up until the 1960s and 1950s with Brown v. Board, where it was like, okay, now we're going to have integration. But prior to that, this idea of states' rights, like, we have a supremacy clause in the Constitution that places the federal above the state. And so while there are specific state rights, and those are like the police powers, you can't just be this little bitchy state complaining that, while you are a member of like a federal society, that you now in some way have the authority over the state. It's the same reason why, like, when we had a national bank, the state couldn't sue the bank, or excuse me, the state could not tax the bank, because therefore you'd be taxing, the federal government. It's just that kind of dynamic. Like, we have to have some authority in the United States. But I think it's like really bad that, and I think one of the Marine Corps, maybe the Commandant, just like outlawed the stars and bars on posts, which is like, or bases, as they say in the Navy and the Marines. Like, it's about bloody time.
Yeah, I understand everything, and I just try to play devil's advocate. But it's like there's so much history, like Bragg, Polk, Jackson, like every base down south is named after a Confederate general.
And that was only because when the government went and through the process of eminent domain, where we take private land and transition it for public use and compensate, the state or whoever owned that property. Part of the reason that we were able to do that so easily and say, hey, we're going to put all of these Yankee bases down here in the South was because we're going to name them after your great Confederate leaders. Like, it was a way to appease the legislatures in each state and the national representatives to say, okay, yeah, like, bring it down to Louisiana. Like, we'd love to have you outside of Leesville. Wait, is Leesville? No. Leesville is Alabama, isn't it?
I know.
What's outside? What's outside of Polk? What's the?
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. We're outside of Columbus. Benning. Like, I think the post should be renamed. I don't care what kind of history. Like, history in a year from now, no one's going to look back and go, man, I liked when it was called Fort Benning. Like, the only people that are pissed off are the ones that have to have, like, the maneuver center at Fort Benning changed underneath their polo that they have to wear to, like, hail and farewells. Nobody's going to care.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't want to necessarily argue against you, because I agree with you, and I don't really want to play devil's advocate for this one, because I think I'd lose either way. I have no good arguments against it.
I think the argument would be a, freedom of expression, the same way that, you can burn the flag, whether in effigy or in protest. You're allowed that right. You can wear a shirt, and we talk about obscenity laws that says, like, fuck the draft. You can do whatever you want. This is just one of those instances where you're like, okay, do we have a compelling interest that's been narrowly tailored to take someone's right away from displaying the stars and bars? And it's just going to be one of those congressional debates. I'm sure it's going to see its way to some circuit court and then the Supreme Court eventually, if we're going to restrict on-post activities for representation like that.
Yeah, I find it kind of interesting. I just listened this week to one of Jocko Willenick's podcast with Dan Crenshaw. Do you know a lot about Dan Crenshaw?
Is he a Medal of Honor?
Texas senator. No, it's congressman.
The Navy SEAL.
Yeah. Pete Davidson made fun of him, and then he went on SNL. So I actually listened to his podcast with Jocko, and he wrote a book that just came out. I haven't read the book yet, but it's pretty interesting. It talks about, like, outrage culture, that American culture nowadays is all about outrage culture and playing the victim, and then everyone, and, like, the victim is, like, is like upheld in American culture nowadays. Like
I
he
can see that.
cites the example of like Jesse Smollett, like in what country or what world would you imagine that someone who makes up this story about a hate crime and then he gets celebrated for, for the story, or like he was like celebrated for like saying the hate crime, and then it comes out that he made it all up, and he's still like, so it's just like, it's very interesting that listening to his perspectives on it. And it's just funny because thinking about what you're saying about renaming all the Confederate bases and statues and stuff, it's funny because like outrage isn't just limited to the left wing, because everyone likes to think that all the liberals or the snowflakes are so like emotional, but the conservatives are just as easily outraged as the liberals. Like as soon as you're someone, like for example with like the Confederate stuff, I remember like the Army Times ran the stories last year, the comment section just one after another, which is outraged conservatives talking about, this is our history, this is our culture, to ignore our culture, ignore our history is illegal, or whatever. But it's just like, it's just funny because it just, everybody in America just loves getting pissed off at nothing. Like, what does it matter that they changed the name? Like,
who cares?
It doesn't affect you.
No, and it's the same thing. I completely see where Dan Crenshaw would come away from, his service in the Navy, come back to a country where he, probably felt that his service was not truly appreciated. He probably thought a lot of the thank you for your services were nothing but platitudes and were empty. And if like you wanted to really affect change, you would have voted differently to get us out of these conflicts. You would have served yourself. We've talked about it before, like, less than 1% of the population now serves, and even fewer now have connections to military members, unlike, World War I and II in Korea. So I can totally see where if you left after serving at such a high operational tempo and came back and saw what people were really complaining about, it's the same thing that we talked about with some of my peers at my school complaining about having to do at-home learning. Like, guys, we are really privileged. If I'm going to be taking a final tomorrow, I'm going to be wearing boxers and I'm going to listen to music, and you know what? Maybe I'll have some yogurt during the final too, and then casually walk to the bathroom, during that time. Like, there's nothing more privileged than getting a law degree from your bedroom right now.
Yeah, and it's just like
people complain.
Everybody loves to complain.
It's awful. It's pathetic.
Yeah, I don't really get it either. Maybe because like we were just in the military, but like even people in the military let the fucking bitch too. So it's like not even just being in the military like makes us less like to complain. Like you're just more likely to. I bitch about everything too, but it's not like.
Dude, I can't. When I was at CCC, we had an opportunity to be like company commanders for an IBOLC mission.
Mm-hmm.
And I volunteered twice for it because like, this is a free rep to be a company commander. You get to plan everything, and you meet, these brand new second lieutenants that are going to go and do some good things, some of them. And the ones that aren't are like, I'm walking through McKenna Mount site, and we've got a platoon that's setting up its own internal support by fire, and I'm with the platoon leader, and I'm like, hey, like, I think your support by fire is like a little south of where it needs to be. Like, I need you to get up higher near this baseline. And he was like, great, goes and talks to the squad leader. The squad leader is a female, and like, she's like all motivated as hell. She gets up, she's grabbing guys and just like throwing them, like, get the fuck up. And this one guy's like, why do we have to move? I was like, I'm sorry. Did like two people not tell you to get up? Like, you're about to have a really nasty time if you even make it through rap week, which I'm sure this person did not. If when someone's telling you in like a play event, like a fake, breach, that you have to get up and move, if like this is real world, your ass would be up and moving because you're not even behind cover right now or concealment. Like, move, dude. And this like complaining. Like, I wanted to walk over. I had a buddy step on some dude's helmet during a live fire because the idiot was about to shoot somebody with a saw, and he just put the foot on the back of this kid's helmet and put it straight down. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why aren't you looking at your engagement area and aware of the movement of the units to your left and right? Like, this is briefed ad nauseum by your platoon leader, platoon sergeant, squad leaders, team leaders. Like, show a little bit of common sense and put a little bit of effort in. I think it all comes down to just effort and energy. People that don't want to put effort or energy into understanding the opposite sides uh, are the same people that would be, you know, those lazy weapon squad members that don't want to get up and go to the next support by fire. Just lazy people.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of split because that Jocko and Dan actually talk about that aspect that today's youth are more likely to ask why. But I think it's because a lot of today's youth is brought up to kind of think that they're more individual and then less part of the whole. But either way, like, I think as a follower, I think followers still deserve to know why. But at a certain point, like, you have to just know when to like ask why, and then at a certain point, just you have to know when you have to do it. You know, like there's
Yeah,
times for each. Yeah,
no,
but I can be
100%.
like,
There's a funny SNL sketch with, oh, I can't, Keenan Thompson,
I don't watch it now.
where it was him and Miley Cyrus, you know, being like, you know, how to be a star in the Disney Channel. And one of the sketches was like, you're smarter than every single parent in the room. It's like, I remember that like struck a chord because I remember growing up, all the TV shows as a kid, all these cartoons essentially just downplayed the role of the parent and
Mm.
just made it so that every kid growing up thought their parents were idiots and they didn't have to listen to them because, you know, Jimmy
Yeah,
Neutron disrespected his parents, Dexter didn't respect his parents. Um, you know, uh, Two Stupid Dogs, I don't think they had, or Angry Beavers didn't have parents. So it was like constantly this whole idea that you as the kid
yeah,
uh, can do whatever you'd like, essentially.
interesting. I never thought about that. I never reflected that. Huh? Because I've always had like this thing with authority where like I don't like authority. Like when my first reaction when people like trying to flex on me is like push back and then not
Yeah,
listen to people. Like that's just something that I've always been since like I don't know where it came from growing up. Like I guess maybe because my parents were kind of strict growing up, so I've always had like this thing against authority. But yeah, I can definitely see. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I don't know if that played into it at
I
all.
I know you brought up Jocko, and you had a really cool discussion with some of your homies about selling out. So,
Hmm.
do you want to get into that and talk
Yeah,
about it? We can play devil's advocate and, you know,
yeah.
pluses and minuses of service.
Yeah, so like I'm in a group chat with some of my guys still, and then we actually this week we're talking about selling out, and then we were trying to figure out how would you define someone as selling out? Because like in my mind, you know, the classic thing to sell out is like, you know, you're like in my mind I always picture like music stars, like, you know, like the throwing back to high school, like the indie or emo guys that like make great music and then they make it big and then sell out and go mainstream music and then become like, you know, the standard like you know, mass produced pop or whatever. And then that's a classic sellout. And then I think about that in the military too, is just like selling out as in you are leveraging your military experience to further yourself financially or socially, I guess. And then that actually brought up a lot of concerns with me too, because I think, you know, coming from Ranger Regiment, we were always told to be quiet professionals, to, you know, never talk about the mission, you know, never, you know, you're just, you know, a part of the team. You don't need to be an individual, and you're all about, you know, serving the team. So like when we started Cronus Fit back in 17, you know, I had some concerns too about what was I selling out, because I was specifically using our Ranger experience as a way of like separating ourselves from our competitors in the market, so to speak. And then I had to do some, you know, some mental gymnastics to try and justify to myself that I wasn't actually selling out, because you know, that wasn't what we were, you know, raised to do in regiment, to use our position to, you know, achieve or to further our position using our history or our positions. So then we, you know, went back and forth with my group chat with the guys, and then, you know, I was kind of curious to see like where your perspective is on what would you define as like a sellout, because, you know, like I have nothing against guys who use their experience as a way of like providing for their families, you know, like the classic example of guys getting out is like guys get out and then start like a tactical training site, or like start like making gear or doing stuff like that using their experience, which I guess you can almost define as selling out, because they're pretty much taking their ranger or whatever special operations TTPs and teaching non-special operators the same tactics and TTPs too. So we went back and forth a lot, and then I think the definition that we arrived to was you draw the line at financial or at gains, like what you're gaining from using your experience. So like with us at Cronus Fit, since neither of us, which I actually guess nobody really knows this fact, but Sean and I don't get anything from Cronus Fit. We don't receive any money from it. We don't get anything from running this site besides I guess maybe like social or cloud, or just getting our names out there, which I guess you can kind of consider that to be maybe a little bit of selling out, because we're using our positions to further maybe our reputation or whatever.
My Instagram's private, so don't.
Yeah, my Instagram's private too. But it's just like we had that discussion, and it was just very interesting because my one buddy said that I was a sellout for doing Cronus Fit, and I was like, you know what, I can see where you're coming from, and a couple of years ago I probably would have agreed with you, but then we definitely changed the business model to adjust so that we wouldn't necessarily be sellouts, because at this point we're just literally doing this, from the bottom, like just out of the bottom of our hearts for goodness, because we don't receive any financial benefit from it. We don't get money from it. All the money that we receive goes back into you guys.
Yeah. I thought about that, and I was concerned about it when, especially as officers in Ranger Regiment, we spend like a fraction of the time in that organization that other Rangers do that grow up there. And so by the time you get to be a platoon leader there, whether you're there like, a day or 2.5 or 3 years before you leave, your time and your experiences are really just molded around essentially 1 or 2 positions that you're privileged enough to have in support of the larger organization. But the other Rangers there will grow up and really almost have more of a claim to the idea of being Rangers than, majority of the officers, unless they go back as platoon leaders, commanders, field grades, battalion, etc. So that was always a concern for me. It's like, I don't want this to just necessarily be like, this is a Ranger Regiment company. When we first started, we didn't have any programs that cost any money. The only ones we had were like, our daily workouts that you and I were putting out, the SFAS, Ranger, IBOLC, and then squad PT programs, which are all still completely free. And then it was as soon as like about almost the end of year 1, because it cost almost, let's say like $600 to $1,000, like just getting all the sites set up, trying to put in trademark with the U.S. Patent Office, like getting some basic like sticker orders, like so it could send it to like just friends and family. And then once we started generating some programs and seeing that there was money that was coming in, we're like, okay, well, this can go towards operating costs. And then we're now seeing like we've got a nice little pool put together. It was like, all right, and that's where we came up with the idea for the scholarship fund, and that's where we do like this monthly charity drive, only because we're getting enough orders to be able to drive that kind of activity. But that's always been a concern, is I don't want this to be something that like we take away from the resources that people are providing us just to give them, a simple PT plan. And if anything, there are like way more pressing needs in the country and in the military community that require, those funds than us. I always look at this too as like a side hustle, and it's not even like a hustle. My primary job is going to be, whatever I end up doing in law. Yours is going to be, a doctor, a surgeon. And this is like a nice little like charity that, we can help manage and try to bring some people on and educate a community. I think someone that sells out potentially would be like someone who has a very individualized look at something. So like you can look at like Black Rifle Coffee as an example of, I think, not selling out. Matt Best gets out and makes some like hilarious YouTube videos the first couple of years. He gets out and looking at like how their business grew. I think like another vet contacted him and they start making, coffee. And so they're not even taking like any of their things that they learned in the military and were told to be quiet about, professional about. They're just taking like common things that I think all veterans and all service members can, join in laughing at. And then it was like, okay, well, these are good dudes. Like, this idea of just be a good dude. And you see that in their company, you're like, okay, and now they have a really thriving coffee company, and they still make videos and they still put out, a lot of vet friendly content. And so like, that's an example of, I think, like not selling out. I think selling out would be, and like, I don't want to like name drop, but like, if you're going to be, SEALs get it all the time. And we'll just talk in general about SEALs. You get out and you think that your SEAL experience was so unique that you have to write a book about it. Like, you have to write a book about killing bin Laden. Like, come on, dude. There were a lot of people on that mission that were probably more important than you. There's probably someone right behind you that would have done it. It wasn't like you found this on your own. You got dropped into, the middle of the mountains in Pakistan. We're like, I got a hunch it's over here, and you did this on your own. Like, there was a huge team. I didn't read your book. I'm not going to read your book. Like, there's enough shit out on there to know that he's dead. That's all I care about. And you were a part of SEAL Team 6. Like, phenomenal. I know that this dude is like an incredible operator and has done some great things for the country. But to get out and then like
sell that story
and go on all these talk shows, like, okay, that is selling out. That is taking something that was incredibly classified, like only a select few individuals were even thought of when planning this mission. And then to come out, in whatever the months or years afterwards, be like, I'm going to write a book about it. Get the fuck out of here. That's selling out to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't, because I find with Black Rifle, not to like start shit with Black Rifle, because I respect them as a company, but like, all those guys are sitting pretty well financially from that company too. So like, where do you draw the line of utilizing, because I mean, Black Rifle, I think, was kind of founded on the idea, like, we are a veteran-owned company of special operators. I think that's how they started too, right? So it's like they kind of used their
something along those lines. But what I would say is, from the outside, it looks like they have like a nice headquarters, and wherever they shoot some of their videos, and I'm sure a lot of that is not inexpensive, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not gonna criticize someone's success that they've generated, because like, how many other veteran companies tried to start and then were unsuccessful. Black Rifle just fit like a niche at the very unique time that they came into the market, and they've exploded. The other thing I would say is, it appears that a lot of the guys that work for that company are veterans, so like, they are giving back to the community by employing nothing but dudes from different special operations branches. And so I think when you look at it from that perspective, and like you playing devil's advocate there, it's like, if your benefit through your business is still with that community because you're employing dudes, you're going and you're visiting soldiers all around the country. I know Matt Best was out in like near Savannah and Fort Stewart a couple years ago to do like a meet and greet, and one of the guys that I knew went and saw him, and he was like the nicest dude ever. It was like that kind of outreach really helps. And they do a lot of stuff with just, how to start a business, and they've had some podcasts that are really interesting to listen to. I think because of that kind of thing, I still wouldn't consider that to be sell. Now, if like the Black Rifle, for instance, were to have only 1 or 2 veterans working for them, and then were to like, I don't know, do something, I can't even imagine like something egregious. Like I'm sure they give back to charities. It's like, it's stuff that we don't know, like, what charities do they support, but it's that kind of
giving back,
like altruism, that it's already apparent within their company, because you see how many individuals work for them that have, different disabilities from service. And it's like, hey, like, these people are still thriving, and either they're working for us or we're telling their story. Like that's the kind of thing that with your platform that you have, Black Rifle has been able to do. And it's like something that I hope like we continue to do with Cronus, like trying to help out different organizations and different drives and giving back to the community. So I think Black Rifle from like the very get-go has always had that idea of like a very veteran friendly focus.
So I guess that's where I guess you would draw the line is in terms of selling out, as if you give back to the community or not, right?
Yeah, like what I know, like for if you're not a nonprofit, you know, you want to maximize your revenue stream and then your profit margin like that. You know, that's business 101. It's not one of the 10 things that, you know, Michael, you know, brought up in, you know, season 2 of The Office, but, you know, it's definitely the foundations of running a successful business. But outside of that, if you do find that you have the funds and the means, well, then making sure that you're doing something for the veteran community. I mean, it's one of the reasons why Hire Our Heroes, I think, has been pretty successful in the last couple of years at placing senior NCOs and junior officers and, you know, businesses, because a lot of employers consider the veteran status to be a form, not disability, but it's like a protected class. So it's another way to ensure that you have engagement with a community that is served. And so I think it's paramount on, like, when you're getting out of the military, if you're going to start a program like that, that is geared so much towards your service, that you have something like built as like a foundational pillar of we help out, we support our own.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think writing a book about Bin Laden is doing it.
Yeah. There's like so many corollaries or like what if scenarios. Like, I guess, yeah, I think that's where we kind of drew the line too, is like giving back or not personally benefiting from doing so. But sometimes, like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with providing for your family too, you know, basically utilizing your service to provide for your family. So it's just like, you know, I don't know. I find it's like a gray area for me, like the guys that take their service and make money off using some, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the, you know, and just bringing it back to when we drew up our charter document, like one of the clauses that there were 2 clauses in there that we specifically had was like, neither one of us will take a salary from this. In any event that one of us walks away or the company is disbanded, like any funds that are available still will automatically, you know, be dispersed to like whatever charity the last remaining owner is interested in. And it's like, that's where I wanted to ensure that Cronus Fit would not end up being just like another fitness company. It's like there's a larger issue that we can tackle. That's why the programs are affordable. I feel like I'm giving like a sales pitch to, like, you know, Shark Tank, but like I just take it very seriously that there are more deserving communities out there. And if the whole purpose is just making a more fit military, which was like one of the reasons why we started writing programs, like to diverge from that would run counter to the like foundations that Cronus was based on.
Yeah, I definitely really like how we have evolved over the last couple of years, because it's been 3 years now, right? 17, yeah. It's 3 years.
Either today or I think today or tomorrow is our 3-year anniversary. Yeah.
It's 5/2. Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
3-year anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Bobby.
Happy anniversary. 3 years of business. But yeah, like I've really enjoyed the process. And then, you know, sometimes I wish that I could get some money from it, because like if we sat down and like calculate how many hours we put into this a week, it's like, man, it's just like it would be nice to get something out of it. But like, you know, I just thinking about all the good we're putting out, like the good that we're getting, the benefit that we're giving out. And I love hearing guys like hit us up and saying like, hey, you know, thank you for your podcast. Thank you for everything that you've done for giving back to the community, because, you know, you inspired me to go to selection or inspired me to go become a ranger, you know. And that's like, and that's like the hard part to measure too, because there's so much more like extrinsic, like so much more benefit that we can't like measure that we get from running the business. It's like it's so cool, like the influence that we were able to have on guys in the military and guys even joining the military, and then somehow creating this community out of nothing, I feel like.
Yeah, I think it's just the idea of educating um, people. And again, that's not like Bobby and I are coming from a background where we were some NFL strength trainers. We have 25 certs each. We've competed in all of these fitness events, and like we are the guys. Like, there's no way the CRTF would ever run up to us and say, "Hey, run the CRTF." Like, we don't have those credentials. And what I like to is I feel like Cronus Fit has probably, I would say at this point, like three types of followers or like athletes. Like the ones that come that are just training up specifically for a ranger school or like a selection. And then once they have that program, they're out. Another crew that follows it because like they like the functional fitness side of the house. They like the kind of traditional CrossFit-y stuff, but it's themed towards the military. And then I think the third crew is a group of individuals that aren't necessarily in the military, but they want to get a flavor of like potentially joining. And so it's like a younger population, like 18 to 21. So between those three groups, it's like really easy to ensure that, hey, like as soon as you leave Cronus Fit, so long as what you got out of it was either like some good workouts, an idea of how to program, which is like one of the reasons that we, are looking to do like a community outreach program and have ambassadors. It's like, let's get over about how we generally program military prep and functional fitness. Let's get your feedback on if you think the programs are effective or ineffective. And then if you leave better than, in better shape than you came in, then Cronus Fit's done its job. And thanks to you, if you purchased a program, that money went back to, providing meals for a hospital, providing meals for a food bank, going towards like, last year when we ran the Ranger Road promotion. It's just, there are good people out there that are much more in need of it than we are. Again, we're going to be employed here with our job. So, the couple hours that we get to dedicate, essentially to a nonprofit are, in my mind, completely worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just worry sometimes about how like growing the business, if we're going to be able to grow or how we can, expand, because like it or not, both you and I are going to be really busy pretty shortly. Like you started this year, first year of law school, and then I'm about to start residency too. So like my fear is that we lose some of the momentum that we've gained over the last couple of years, and that, we kind of die down, or guys stop following us. We're not bringing much to the table, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think the programming, we've both followed different programs in the past, and it's like how long did you stay with that program before you went on? I mean, we were, I think last year you and I were pretty big into traditional weightlifting. The year before that we were big into CrossFit. Now you and I are both doing endurance events just to grow our repertoire. So I think it's the same in general with almost every single fitness community. I think it's one of the reasons why you look at like boxes with CrossFit. I don't think most members stay longer than a year to a year and a half because they end up investing in their own personal gym. And that's, again, I think at the end of the day with fitness, if you get into the arena, you can grow. And we have grown significantly from 3 years ago. But so long as people are more fit, living longer, not, looking towards, these wonder drugs, I think at the end of the day, that's just like I can go to bed. If Cronus Fit ended today, other than like being able to invest in some great nonprofits before we close the door permanently, it's like, I want to be completely happy because there's been so many cool success stories of individuals passing courses, awesome service members from the UK, Australia, Sweden, Germany,
Canada,
reaching out to us, Canada. I mean, it's like that kind of global network is really cool to see that, somebody finds the really basic, for me at least, for military prep fitness programming, like worthwhile. And it's like, yeah, let's engage and let's try to get better. And what are your goals? It's one of the reasons our mountain program was designed after a dude who was training up for SAS. over in the UK was like, hey, this is kind of like what I'm looking for. This is what I need. We're like, dude, don't worry about it. Like, we'll gem you up a program. And then that turned into, okay, a lot of this seems to be like focused on hills, mountains, climbing, the same kind of stuff that, we experienced deployed. Is like, all right, let's make a mountain program out of this. And that's how that evolved. So you get so many cool opportunities. I think growth, though, I'm being like long-winded now. I think growth would be, just bringing on more like-minded people. And I think the ambassador program growing and seeing guys that are, or gals now that are in regiment. And, for instance, that's a big, I think, population that we generally miss. We kind of looked at Ranger School as a one-size-fits-all training program. I don't think it's like that for females that are training. I think there are some specific things they need more focus on for muscular endurance than, say, like cardio. So it's like, if we were to bring a female Ranger qualified individual on that could help out and reach out to the females, if you're out there listening and you want to get in touch with us, like, that'd be another way to grow. And just count it towards like, community service kind of thing and giving back and what your favorite charity is. And that's how we, get into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one thing that I wish that we had more, I guess, ability to help is the females, because I think, it's pretty straightforward for guys. Like, we know how to program for guys. It's straightforward for us because we know how to program for ourselves. But yeah, for the female aspects, I know like the vast majority of our followers are males. So I wish that we were able to get more females into and empower more females to go to these things and go to these special operations. Because I think females are a great asset to the team, depending on how like you want to, argue, which side you want to argue. But I think females do offer a very more capabilities to the team, and then we should help those that that aspire to do that.
Yeah, not gonna be like who's the dude that they're ripping on online? Like, every single one of the military memes is ripping on some admin dude from the Marines and just destroying him. Never deployed, not a rifleman, or every Marine's a rifleman, but like not a, what is it, 0311, whatever their infantry MLS is, but he's charging $600 a month or a program to these kids out of high school to train up to go to the Marine basic course. Like,
I think you're talking about like there's like a PJ thing that people trash. I think 18 Disaster is trashing this like PJ mentorship thing that they charge like kids like $100 a month or some shit like that. For, like, mentorship.
Something. That's the other thing too. Like, we talk about
that's selling out.
Especially like, if you think and again, there are a lot of fitness companies out there that charge a shit ton of money for basic fitness, and then some that have a pretty affordable subscription plan. But if you're charging a couple $100 for like anywhere from 2 to 4 months worth of programming, like, it is not worth it. Like, for a couple $100, I look at it as the program should be significantly less than the price of a gym membership. Mm-hmm. If the program costs more than a gym membership, where you can like even utilize any of the equipment necessary for those things, then like you're just wasting your money. Because at the end of the day, I look at gym memberships too. Like, okay, if I had a 12-month membership here, what could I get in my garage instead? Would I be able to do 90% of that? And if the answer is like, yes, I'm not going to go to that gym. Like, that's why I will never join like a CrossFit box in New York City. Like, I think CrossFit Union Square is like $250 a month. You can only go and classes, do like the prescribed classes, like no open gym stuff. And that's probably a product of the size and the rent cost. But at the same time, fuck that. Like, I'd rather go get a storage unit for $130 a month uptown, fill it out with gym equipment, and just go there every day. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, for sure. And then I really am pleased with how we have progressed over the years. I'm glad to see that people resonate with our mission, because I think that's another thing that people like us, because we have this mission of giving back to the community. And I'm glad that that people are able to see that we are all about giving back. We're not really about personally benefiting from the situation, from our backgrounds too.
Yeah. And speaking of giving back, last month's charity, we had a really great turnout. This month's charity, we're going to do a drive for homeless kids during this time. Both, it's been really hard on them getting to school, getting meals again. So this month we're going to focus on like the homeless youth population and try to, generate funds for that through the sales and then through, the great donations of, individuals out there that follow and listen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I really like how we're kind of expanding our scope to the kind of the social side of things too. Like I actually really like our discussions on the kind of the social commentary and politics here. I think it's we might like ruffle some feathers or like lose some followers based on politics, but I think at the end of the
if
day,
you're a 3%er, I doubt you're still listening to this.
Yeah, but you're also a 3%er. Like I don't know why you'd be listening to us either too. We're not exactly the type of people or type of content that 3%ers would probably listen to either.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some like Mountain Dew Expo that you're gearing up to attend or some other like protest you're going to go to and like show off your excellent kit, you fucking clowns.
Yeah. Should we pivot into BOLC, or do you want to like table that for some other time?
Let's table that for next week. If you were tuning in to listen to it, apologize. FM 390 is one of the ones someone asked us about, like general definitions and just key terms that you could look up instead of trying to peruse through 21.8 and 7.8 for the general ideas of, what each one of the offensive terms is that, you want to give as a task and then subsequent purposes. So we'll talk about that in detail next week. So we'll talk, for IBOLC guys, McKenna Mount, what I went through in IBOLC when it was 16 weeks in the general ruck progression, the PT expectations, gearing up to PCS from Benning, schools that you can get while you're there for follow-on. Does getting commandant's list really matter, especially for going to a MEC unit where your battalion commander's untabbed and armor officer and loves his Stetson and wears it everywhere, including to JRTC, and smokes cigars like he was General fucking Patton? These are all questions that I will answer for you. And then Bobby can talk about Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'll talk about FABOLC, but don't expect me to like cite off the FMs because I am like the last person to talk about doctrine. I know we talked about like Brian and Pete talking about like doctrine and like as a lieutenant knowing doctrine, and I'll be honest, I don't know shit about doctrine. That was definitely like my weakness in the military.
Oh, dude, speaking of doctrine, I remember at the board at RASP, I got asked a question like, what are the 8 steps of MDMP, the military decision-making process? I gave him the TLPs. And the sergeant major goes, I'm glad you know the TLPs. I wanted to know MDMP. And I said, Sergeant Major, I've never been on staff. I don't even know what MDMP stands for. And I just wanted to show you that I knew another 8-step model. So there's, that was my doctrinal background prior to getting a regiment. It wasn't until my company commander was like, you don't want to look like an idiot. And if you leave Ranger Regiment and go to MCCC, like your experiences here are going to be very obvious when it comes to like general briefing skills or fitness or just, tactical experience. But if you can't back that up with doctrine, you're just going to be, a shell of, a Ranger Regiment, Abrams Charter carrying Muldoon. So like engage the text and don't be lazy. And I was like, all right, that's a really good point. And I wanted a good rating at the time, and then I just didn't care.
Yeah, so like I definitely did not read doctrine. I was not the best lieutenant, I'll put it that way either. I was not the best lieutenant.
I was an even worse captain. Like, again, captain's that rank where I think somebody was talking about like congratulations to all the new 03s yesterday.
Oh, that guy in your seminar, love him.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, funny dude. It was like, I remember getting captain. Captain was just a rank that, like, you really could give no fucks because it was like
Yeah.
you were in long enough where you had some experiences,
Hmm.
but not in long enough where you were completely sold to the military. Like you could get out within a year or two, you could just do your time. And so, like, again, not talking about rocking the boat, but you could really, if some major was being dumb, no problem just being like even more uh what's the word, not cocky, not arrogant, but confident, more
Hmm.
confident that this dude is an idiot. And you can just tell them, sir, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't put my support by fire there, brigade commander. You'd have to be an idiot to do that. That's not how you get company command either. So, just there's a scale there with your captaincy, and don't put too much sand in the side of go fuck yourself.
Yeah. I'll be honest. Second lieutenant is probably my favorite rank.
Oh no, I felt like trash.
Oh, I love being a second lieutenant.
As soon as I pinned, I was like, all right, I'm again, this is going to be stereotypical here, so I don't want to offend like any non-gender individuals living out there, but I'm not a man because I don't have a blue cord. I'm even less of a
Wow.
man or a human because I don't have my tab. Like I was, until I got my tab. I remember my mom was talking to somebody because they said I had asthma and I couldn't go to Ranger school. And I was like, no, fuck that. Like, I'm going to Ranger school. I went to every pulmonologist from Atlanta to the Alabama side before someone just checked me off with saying, no, you don't have it. But my mom was telling like a family friend who was like, why is it such a big deal to go? And my mom was a Black Hawk pilot and my dad was Ranger qualified. And she goes, because it would be like he didn't have a dick if he was in the infantry without a tab. And I was like, my mom said it best. Like, that's how I felt. That's what I hated
Brutal.
second lieutenant time. I absolutely hated second lieutenant time.
Really? I love second
Yeah.
lieutenant. It was just like a great because it's just like I feel like second lieutenant time was like the sham E4 time where you could be like, I don't know any better. I'm a second lieutenant. I don't know. I didn't
Oh,
know that.
see, I didn't like that. I wanted to be the dude that if I said something, it was because I had experiences. I think for me, it was less about rank and more about experiences. So,
Hmm.
okay, I've got my blue cord, I've got my Ranger tab. I meet the basic bare minimum checklist for an infantry officer. And then it was, okay, I've got to my unit. We've got deployment. All right, I've got a deployment patch, but am I leaving with a CIB? Okay, yeah, we've seen combat, got a CIB. And then it was, okay, what other like things can I do to separate myself? And then finally it was like at captain, I could take a step back and just kind of breathe and go, okay, I have tried to do everything I can, like rank aside what I've been able to achieve in the military. Like that's what I wanted out of the Army. And now from here out, it's like captain was the point where I could finally breathe a sigh of relief and then focus on, being a good officer. I don't
That's
know.
true. Yeah, that's definitely very true about being captain. Because I remember, like, 'cause especially in the big army, like all captains are captains. Like they don't differentiate between post command captains and pre command captains too.
Right.
So like in the big army, it's just like you're an 04, your freshman or freshman 03 is the same as your senior 03 second command captain. You can call him whatever you want to call him. Not the same regiment, however, but no,
Yeah, you have to
that was
salute branch qualified captains and regiment if you are not branch qualified.
yeah,
That
that
was
was
weird.
that was very
Someone was like,
weird.
"Why are you saluting a captain? You're a captain. You don't understand. Don't not do it. You will get skull dragged across this parking lot."
Dude, it was like my first. I remember my first day in battalion, and I saw a cap, like a pre-command or a not branch file, a captain. I saluted him, and they're like, "We don't do that here."
Yeah.
Like
What are
that
you
meme.
doing?
We don't do that here. But yeah, I just remember because I pinned 03 on deployment at Jock, and I was
Same.
like, once I got promoted to captain, I was like, "What up, bud? What up, bro?" No,
Yeah.
no longer Lieutenant Zhang, it's Captain Zhang. So I was like, when I was calling around on, all the other battle captains, they're all like captains. So I was just like, I had to call him sir. And then now, once I pinned captain, I was like, "What up, bro? We're the
Yeah.
same rank now."
I liked that promotion. I though was not allowed to have my platoon sergeant pin me, which was my only request.
Hmm.
Because I was like, this dude he's my ride or die. You know, that's the dude I want to pin me because that means the most to me. And then my company commander was like, it's not how it works. And I was like, that sucks.
Yeah, I think the BC pinned us because it was overseas. I think the BC pinned us.
Same.
Yeah.
Same, and had to interrupt everybody's going on in the jock to see me and my buddy Penn, and it was like, sorry, we're interrupting your work.
Yeah.
I know it's just not that big of a deal because I've been able to stay in the military and not get a DUI. Done a lot to get to this point. Now let me get the fuck out of here and go back to hanging out with my Rangers.
Yeah, that's how I was. It was like a pin captain. 2 months later, I was out of the Army. It's good. But now but then being during med school, because I'm back at second lieutenant, I was like,
punk bitch. I'm gonna go join the National Guard just to make you salute me.
Too late now.
I would never do that.
Actually, right now I'm still a second lieutenant. I don't pin 03 until I show up and sign in at Fort Lewis.
Well, good. Until then, you're trash.
Still I'm trash.
Gold bar punk bitch.
I know, it's great. I actually have to go get my uniforms like sewn back on captain, sewn back on my uniforms. I also have to go buy the fucking new uniforms too. It's a pain in my ass.
You're gonna scare some like dependa who sees like, you know, her husband's like a major and she has like 14 kids and she's gonna come in there and you're gonna be wearing like your scrubs with all these tattoos and she's gonna be like, my husband is the S3 for 248 Cav. Can we see a doctor? And you're gonna be like, bitch, I am your doctor. Your kid's fine. It's a scab. The kid fell down. You didn't break anything. Stop wasting my time. My husband's a major. I don't know if I said that. You should call me ma'am. Get out of my office.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, I don't care. It's funny. Like, as a doctor in the military, you're kind of like in the military, but you're not really in the military. So it's like, you're really just like this separate entity. It's kind of funny. But I'm looking forward to the day I get back to doing operational stuff. We'll see.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I'm moving out there and getting your orders.
Yeah, 6 to 8 years of training left before I can do anything operational.
Sucks.
I know. It's a long road, but I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to get back in the operating room again. I've been watching like surgery videos in my spare time. I love it. The itch.
Nope.
I got the itch.
Well, speaking of the itch that I have to go powder, I've got to get back to studying for my final tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
So
good luck.
Hit us up with questions for IBOLC, FABOLC for next weekend. Sorry we didn't get to it today, but again, we really wanted to talk 3%ers out there.
Yeah,
and all the other heroes that are just doing great things for
our country.
You know, our country, wearing just phenomenal kit and helping the military defense agencies all around the world with their heroism. So thank you for your service.
That's all. TYFS.
TYFYS, sir.
Oh yeah. Right.
That's cool. Go back to watching your doctor videos.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to watching and doing surgery. I gotta start brushing up on all that stuff again. I'm kind of rusty right now.
You want to clap on the backside of this so that you know where my recording stops?
No.
I'm gonna clap for you.
All right, with that, we'll end with that because I think we're just fucking around at this point.
Bye, guys.
Until next time, we'll see you guys next week. Later.